Hello, Comic Book Nation. This is Russ Burlingame, and we are here at San Diego Comic-Con. And I'm with Michael Uslan, or Uslan?
Uslan, yeah.
Uslan, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Who has been, as I was saying before we went on camera, has been helping to shape the way that we view Batman for a few decades now. You've been producing movies, you've been writing books, and ages and ages ago, you did the first accredited course ever in kind of comic books in the United States.
It's true. I take either all the responsibility or all the blame for that.
A little of both, probably. Depends on if Alan Moore's involved. But so, for you personally, what has changed in the time that you've been working with Batman? Because obviously, this is 80 years of Batman. It's also 30 years since that first movie that you were producer on.
Yeah, how incredible is that?
And it seems to me like it's a whole different world.
It is. When you say what has changed, the answer is everything. Mm-hmm. Everything's changed. So last night, as you know, we had the inauguration of the Comic-Con Museum here in San Diego, which is awesome. And it was the beginning of the Comic Book Hall of Fame. And the fact that the first superhero inducted into the Comic Book Hall of Fame was Batman and not Superman, it's jaw-dropping. Because when I was growing up, it was all very crystal clear. Superman was number one, Batman was absolutely number two. And the fact that since 1989, and our first film, which was revolutionary, thanks to Tim Burton and Anton Furst in particular, two geniuses, it changed not only Hollywood forever, but it actually changed the world culture. And people look back now 30 years later, and they first want to talk about its box office success and all the records it broke. Historically, that is not the point. The point is, by it being the first dark and serious comic book superhero feature film, it transcended borders around the world, and it impacted cultures, and it let the whole world know that comic books were no longer simply for 6 to 12-year-old boys. That these were entertaining stories that had depth to them, that had thematic heft to them, that had great characters, and were in fact our modern day mythology come to life. And that is what has been the essential change. And it's that movie, due to Tim Burton's big idea, what I always call the big idea, that opened the portal that ultimately allowed Marvel to walk through and succeed with. And Tim's big idea was simply this: if we're going to do the first groundbreaking serious superhero movie, this movie cannot be about Batman. It must be about Bruce Wayne. And that's the whole key. I mean, look at the Iron Man movies. They should really be titled Tony Stark. And Spider-Man, everyone's more interested in Peter Parker. That's what opened the door. And the corollary to Tim was great world building. From the opening frames of our '89 Batman movie, he said Gotham City was the third most important character in the piece, and we needed to get audiences to believe in Gotham City so they would then suspend their disbelief and accept the fact that there could be a guy getting dressed up as a bat and fighting a guy like the Joker. It all changed then.
It's funny because as much as people still adore the Donner Superman films, all these years later, people joke about the Statue of Liberty being in the middle of Metropolis and things like that. And as you said, with First, you created this entire immersive world where, whenever there's a new TV show or movie or whatever, everybody compares it back to Batman '89 because they know what Gotham looks like.
It's exactly true. And so let's give credit where credit is due. The script comes in by Sam Hamm, and it's like one line. It says, Gotham City as if hell has erupted from under the earth. So Anton turns to Tim and goes, I don't know what this means. And Tim says, I think this means New York City had there never been planning and zoning. Anton goes, I get it. Goes out, researches conflicting styles of architecture, comes back with all the drawings of Gotham City, the Batmobile, the whole look of the picture. And I contend to this very day, every single genre movie that's come out since, you could see the influence of Tim Burton's vision, of Anton's design work, and of Danny Elfman's musical score.
Well, and that's such a thing. Like, even now, when Justice League came out, you go back to the Elfman score. That immediately became part of our kind of cinematic vernacular. Is it strange for you personally to be directly involved with and to remember the stories of coming up with these things that are now used as a cultural shorthand?
No, because I'm a comic book historian. I'm somebody who loves history. So the history has always been important. You know, I first started working for DC Comics in 1972. And I spent a lot of time going to lunch with the old guys so I could hear their stories firsthand. These were guys who created superheroes from the 30s through the 70s. These were the people who were the editors, the publishers, the writers, the artists. And I just wanted all that firsthand knowledge. And then the archivist at DC at the time was a lovely lady, and she understood how much I craved the history. So when I wasn't going to these lunches, she would lock me in the library, and I would take volume out by volume out. And over the years that I worked at DC, I wound up reading every comic book they made up until about mid-1970s.
Now, I know we got to wrap up, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the Joker, because you've got that upcoming, and obviously this is our 5th or 6th reinvention of this character. What kind of draws you to kind of wanting to explore the Joker some more?
Well, the first thing I have to say is this. In every case, you have to look and ask this question. Do you have a filmmaker who has a passion for a character, who understands a character, who has a vision for a character and you believe can execute that vision? If you do, whether his name is Todd Phillips or Matt Reeves or Christopher Nolan or Tim Burton, then you become the greatest cheerleader in the world. And I have all the faith in these guys, and I think it's really important at this moment in time in particular, in a marketplace that you might be able to argue is getting a bit oversaturated between movies and TV and everything else that's coming out, to do things that are bold and daring and different and unique. And I am very proud of the fact that things coming up are not just cookie cutter imitations of what's come before. I think as a fanboy, I'm in heaven.